I believe that I solved a murder in my home state, but the police won't listen to me. I'm Cat Townsend, and the Rebekah Gould cold case has been my life for years. I first heard about the case from my sister, who is really good friends with Rebekah's sister, Danielle. And I would hear about it every time I went home, and I just started wondering, if everybody knows who did it, then why isn't it solved? Rebekah was a beautiful, charismatic, fun-loving young woman who had her whole life ahead of her, the type of person who would take the shirt off her back to help anybody in need. At the same time, everyone called Rebekah a Spitfire. On September 20th, 2004, a 22-year-old college student named Rebekah Gould went into a gas station in Melbourne, Arkansas, and she left and was never seen alive again. Rebekah had been staying at a friend's house, and when police searched that house, there was a bloody mattress that had been flipped over and soaked through. There was bloody material, there were trails, and there was also blood in the washing machine. Also, all her things were there. Her cell phone was there, her car was there, her purse was there with money in it, all untouched, but Rebekah was gone. Finding all those items really led police and everyone else to the conclusion that something really bad had happened to her. And then about a week later, her body was discovered. Rebekah's body was found in a wooded area about 5 miles outside of Melbourne called the Devil's Knob Wildlife Area, where a lot of people dump trash. During that week, hundreds of volunteers were looking for her, and she was just right there the whole time. Rebekah's body was found, from what I understand, propped against a tree. Her body had been out for a week, so obviously there was some decomposition. But from the autopsy report, the cause of death is listed as blunt force injury to head. When Rebekah was murdered, people were shocked. This was an area where that just did not happen. That was 14 years ago, and this has become one of the biggest cold cases in the state of Arkansas. No one's ever been arrested or charged. This isn't like most murder cases where there's one obvious suspect and the police are just waiting to get enough information to prosecute that person. There were several people who Rebekah had some conflict with. Everyone in the community has their own theory about what happened to Rebekah. There's so many rumors about the case, and everyone talks about it. The whole region is it's like a giant game of telephone. One person will say something, and then they repeat that story 10 times, and by the time it gets to person 10, it's completely different from the original story. For years, I've been really passionate about finding the truth about who killed Rebekah. I've been working on this case since 2012. In an active on-the-ground way, I've been working on the case for the past several months. I'm doing a podcast called Hell and Gone, where I go back to my hometown and investigate the murder. I literally moved into my dad's pool house and just never left. There were so many reasons why people told me don't investigate this case. First of all, a lot of people were not cooperative. Some people have that kind of keep to their own and, just why ruin more lives? And someone's actually said, why stir things up? It's definitely a small town. It's got a small town vibe. It's a very remote area. People even leave their doors unlocked and leave their cars, with keys in them. Everyone knows everyone else, and strangers are really noticeable there. People describe things as you're either from there or you're from off. And from off means basically anywhere else. And unless your family has been there for generations, you're still considered from off. There is that mentality. In this investigation, we've had to really build trust with everyone in the area so they would feel comfortable coming forward and knowing they would be believed. And also, no one had been arrested or charged, so it's a difficult case to go in and investigate. We had to do everything from the ground up. The investigation is still going on. We've gotten a really long way, but I've done all this investigating. I've come up with what I believe is a very credible case. I've gotten a ton of new evidence. I've done hundreds of interviews. I've talked to witnesses. I know what happened. I feel like I'm finding out who the killer is, and then to not be believed is really difficult. Some in the Arkansas State Police feel that by me even asking the question, even going in there, I'm getting into their business, and they don't like anyone, especially not a woman, getting into their business. In the podcast, we do a real-time murder investigation in a small town. The listeners are really going to be able to ride along with us in the car as we go knock on a felon's door in the middle of the night and have no idea what's going to happen. And the listeners are going to be able to literally live day by day and find out who killed Rebekah.